is about the simple fact that if you exist in this reality with these laws of physics, you can lose all of the body fat that you would like. Okay. Um, you can look around, you can find examples of people who are exactly like you who have lost fat. Um, and there are people who can lose fat whenever they would like. And we can observe the patterns. Okay, we can observe the patterns in animals when a racehorse gets a few pounds too heavy, they because that affects the speed of the horse, they decrease calories. When a dog or a cat is too heavy, they tell you to restrict calories. Okay, this is not a made up thing. And by the way, calories are a way that we measure. Um, it is a more convenient way to measure the energy per unit of food. Okay, um, and by proxy, the amount of atoms in a food, because in reality it's atoms in, atoms out. But I think that would just be extremely complicated, unnecessarily complicated. You don't want to be counting carbon atoms and like, and by the way, nobody does that, so that's not going to be the case. Um, so my point with all this is to say that first and foremost, if you have a desire to lose body fat, first recognize that desire and just honor it. Usually when we have a desire pops into our mind, then we have a avalanche of voices and thoughts that bury that desire. So people start to feel bad about why they haven't done it. They start to think about all the reasons why it's difficult, um, so on and so forth. Then they have the guilt and the shame of why they can't control how much they're eating or drinking. So if you're starting off from that point, it's gonna be very, very challenging, because we all know in order to change, we have to change behavior and the actions, but the behaviors are a result of the perceptions and the beliefs, right? And one of my favorite definitions of a belief, because everybody talks about, oh, you got to change your beliefs or you got to change your identity. Well, how do I do that? Well, my favorite definition of a belief is a thought you just keep thinking over and over again. And like anything else, the more you do something, the better at it you get. So in reality, it's actually very easy to lose fat. Like the actual stuff that you have to do. It's not complicated. Most of us, and I guarantee you, you are probably doing things that are 10 times more difficult, 100 times more difficult in your day-to-day, in your job, in your relationships, in your hobbies, far more complicated things than the actual things that you have to do to lose fat. Those are not complicated. They're not difficult. But you have gotten so good at those thoughts or those beliefs that they're automatic. And since they're automatic, you think that they're reality. There's not even a space between the thought happening and you. You think that is you. You think that is the reality. And so, you know, like I always say, like I've been involved in this thing since I was probably, I don't know, 12 years old, like trying to get in shape. And I've been working as a strength coach, helping people get stronger, lose fat, eliminate pain since 2011. I opened my gym in 2013. I've had the opportunity to talk with, I don't know, a few thousand people. And you can see the patterns. The people who succeed in closing that gap and changing their body completely, number one, they have the desire, and then number two, they're open to something, they're open to it being easier. They're like, there has to be a way. They may not know how to get there, but they want it to be easier, okay? And that's the starting point. And so most of the time, everybody who's struggling to lose fat, they're getting in their own way. It is your own thoughts that are on repeat that prevent you from doing stuff. Okay. So now, how do you get around this? How do you actually accomplish this thing? It is a great question to think about from a coach's perspective, because my job, one of my primary jobs, is to help people stop getting in their own way, right? But at the end of the day, it always comes down to you as the individual and whether you're open and willing to do that. And from there, many things can happen. There can be many different paths, but the first step is always you, the individual, taking that responsibility and being open, just deciding like, okay, like I think there's a better way and I'm going to look for it. You might not find it right away, but as long as you know, okay, that exists and I'm going to go towards it, you will eventually find it. It took me 9 years of not getting any results and just completely, struggling, failing, quitting, long breaks before I got my first taste of results. 9 years before I got my first taste of results. But the reason I was able to get there was because I honored that desire. I was like, I just want to be ripped. I want to be strong. So eventually you try enough things and you find better answers. You find better coaches. You find better guides. Okay? And so the beauty of the internet is, look, if you want to do something, what I always do is I just go, like, you're watching content, you're reading books and talking to, or seeing videos. You go reach out to somebody that you see that they have results, that they have helped other people get results. They've done it for a long time. They share all of their thoughts and information. And then you feel like you connect with their disposition, right? So, and meaning like you like them. You like them as a person. And when you find that is the person that, if you just get a coach. There's so many great coaches. There's a lot of shitty coaches, but there's also a lot of great coaches. I always say the decision is the doorway. Okay. The moment you make that decision, you've walked through the doorway to that goal. Now, you might run into a bunch of shitty coaches. I did. Well, there's one person I hired, and then, just people, friends, people that teammates, like, they're not, coaching is a different skill than actually doing the thing, right? So the point of this whole thing is recognize the desire and allow yourself to get out of the way so that then you can actually proceed into taking some type of action, right? For me, I still have a coach. I've had a coach since 2009. I know how to do this. I've been doing this for a long time, but I always have a coach because I want a corner man to guide me and help me and be with me. Okay? And that's really the big benefit, is to have a coach, a corner man, to be with you on the journey. Okay? There's a lot of stuff, a lot of crap in the coaching world, but a lot of the stuff, like, I could never really get behind it. I was like, that doesn't, I've hired business coaches and stuff, but I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not going to try to convince anybody. I don't want to pressure anybody. I don't want to work with people that I had to convince. I don't want to do sales calls, right? Just a lot of different things. Oh, you can only, you have certain limited access. Like, to me, I'm like, I want to talk to my clients whenever they want to talk, because the real learning happens through conversation. Okay. Like, you could go on, you don't actually need a coach. You go online and be like, find the best plan, find the best workout program, but it doesn't mean anything, because when you encounter a roadblock, when you take that plan into the world and then the plan kind of falls apart, now you're by yourself and you don't know which direction to go or what to do. But with a conversation with a guide, if that person has enough experience, not only can they address the specific tactical thing, but they can address the psychological side of it, right? And they can address things like, okay, it's a very common thing. Somebody will be, oh, I hit all my calories, but my weight went up 2 pounds. Okay, well, one, day-to-day fluctuations don't matter. We don't try to interpret day-to-day fluctuations. Okay? And I've made plenty of videos about that, about why you don't interpret day-to-day fluctuations, and how you're only, on a average, you're gonna lose 2 to 4 ounces of body fat per day, but your other things of body fat, right? But your other things that contribute to the total weight, those can vary, several pounds. So your 2 ounces every day is stacking up, but it's covered up by the fluctuations. So you're like, oh my God, I hit my calories, but my weight went up. Well, you didn't consider that maybe you drank more water that day and you haven't gone to the bathroom. Maybe you have more food in your stomach because you ate really late and it takes 12 hours for the digestive cycle. And so that food's still inside of you. All these things which contribute, but you're just thinking about, you had a really hard workout, so that's gonna lead to inflammation. That's water, right? That's fluid. You're not thinking about that. And then other stuff, like, people don't know this, like, if they don't understand these types of things, like maybe you were out in the sun and that can cause inflammation, so your weight's gonna jump up because of the water retention. But if you're hitting your calories, you're still losing 2 to 4 ounces a day. So anyways, the point of a good coach or guide is to help you get out of your own way, right? And I always encourage people, like, just go find somebody who you vibe with. You might not find them on the first go around, but people putting out content, you can get a good idea of who they are. I can recommend probably 15 coaches that I know personally that I think are great coaches, right? All over the country. So the main thing is, your thoughts are not your own. They've been programmed. That's what we've been talking about the last couple of days. And in order, you can 100% lose